Welcome to the Bett and Daga show. Hi, Daga.
Hi, Bett.
So today we're going to talk about types of yoga, and you're going to be asking me some good questions during this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And
Yes, please.
if you are just listening to this, then you can look in the show notes for a link to these slides. So I've been thinking a lot about this as a yoga teacher. What are the types of yoga and how do they fit into health? So I'm going to go through each type pretty quickly and show you. These are the most popular types. There's many other types of yoga, just full disclaimer, that I'm not going to go over. So if you don't see your favorite kind of yoga on here, please go ahead and put it in the comments so I can update this. All right, so the first one I'm going to talk about is Hatha, because personally, that's the one that I am a yoga teacher for. So Hatha, so the way this little framework is I've built this little set of things that bring us health. And notice I didn't just say like fitness or, some kind of spirituality. I'm just trying to focus on general health. So strength, balance, cardio, community, focus, building our mind, nervous system regulation, which means moving us from our sympathetic nervous system into our parasympathetic, and range of motion. So these are just some standard measures of health that I'm pulling. Again, people could complain like, oh, you don't have spirit enlightenment on here, or there's some other thing that I'm missing, put it in the comments. Thanks. Okay, so let's jump in. So Hatha, I'm going to show you. So if you look on your website for your local yoga studio, or you're trying to pick a yoga studio or pick a type of yoga, and you're reading the descriptions, you're like, I don't know what this really means. How does this fit into health? I'm going to make a line between the Hatha and the different things. So Hatha is going to be a strength-based yoga practice. It's very much about holding poses for several, maybe a minute, maybe more, and the teacher's going very slowly. There may be only a few poses in the whole class. And the teacher's talking a lot about alignment. So when you're talking about alignment and holding poses, those are body weight based strength poses. And you can build up strength that then you can use, eventually you can move up to weights and doing more and more body weight exercises. So you build strength slowly. The goal is not to get injured. And it is really, really a great way to start off your strength training program to build muscle. All right, community. Community is going to be over and over in yoga. It is not just like an optional thing. We live in a society where we're very separate, and community is just as important as anything else for our health. So you're going to see that over and over. Focus, holding, and breathing. It is very much about building focus. You have to keep the alignment. Your mind is on your muscle and your body. Balance is huge in Hatha yoga. You often do tree poses and hold them. All the different kind of balance poses, warrior one and half moon. These are all types of balance poses that are really going to strengthen your balance, which is critical as you age. And then nervous system regulation will be there. Every time you move with the breath, you're going to be building that nervous system regulation. And then range of motion. So it's really important to understand that to build range of motion, to improve it, you have to hold a stretch. So there's dynamic stretches, which would be moving, which is nice for warming up muscles. But when you want to increase range of motion, you need to be holding static stretches for a minute or more. So you're not going to get range of motion if you're doing constant movements. So it's really critical that this is all based on science, that everything I'm saying, it's not based on just like my yoga teacher told me this. This is based on peer-reviewed science papers that you have to hold a stretch for a minute to get the benefit of range of motion. Let's move into Iyengar. Iyengar is actually going to be all the same things because Iyengar and Hatha yoga are extremely similar. Iyengar is just basically one version of Hatha. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Then Vinyasa. So Vinyasa is completely different than a Hatha yoga or Iyengar class. Vinyasa is honestly, it's a cardio class. Okay, so you're going to do focus because you're moving with the breath. It's definitely going to be working on balance because you're going to be holding poses, and working on the balance. But obviously, you're going to have a lot of community. It's going to help with service. Every time you're moving with the breath, you're going to be helping with your nervous system regulation. And then it's a cardio class. So you'll be sweating, you will be out of breath. It's going to be a very big challenge. And I think that it's important to think about your life and what you're already doing. If you're not doing any kind of walking or hiking or running or biking or rowing or other kinds of cardio, you're going to need to have some kind of cardio. So, but Vinyasa flow, sometimes called flow, is a really great match for that type of fitness and health. All right, Ashtanga. Ashtanga also very popular. So Ashtanga is a series of poses that are always done in the same sequence. So it's a set of specific things done in a specific sequence. Sometimes teachers will repeat some of the poses more than others. And so there's a little variation, but really it's the same thing. So you're going to get a full body workout. You may be completely out of breath, completely sweating. It is also going to be very much about balance, community, nervous system regulation, and cardio. You're going to get some good cardio here. You will be drenched by the end of a good, well-run Ashtanga class. So it will also work on all of those items that I just mentioned. Okay, moving on to Kundalini Yoga. So there's a lot of sometimes confusion about what Kundalini is, and I'm also trained as a Kundalini teacher. So Kundalini is really about the breath. There's going to be Kriyas, which are small little sequences of poses with breath. It's very, very much about breath. It's about the energy of the body, aligning chakras, and there's often focus on one or more areas of the body, like the neck, the heart center, navel. So it's actually the intent of Kundalini is focused on creating an energetic experience or changing your emotions. So it's really, really like intentionally focusing on some specific thing. It is not going to help your balance. It does not going to give you cardio. You're not going to get range of motion impact. So if you have some goal of like improving your balance or something, this is not the right kind of yoga for you. But if you are trying to maybe strengthen your creativity or work on your boundaries or something, it's a very specific kind of yoga. So great for community. It's going to build a lot of focus. You often hold a pose, like this is ego eradicator. You have your thumbs pointed towards each other, your hands up. You will hold this for 3 minutes to 30 minutes. I once did a ego eradicator holding with breath of fire, which is like this for 30 minutes. I mean, this is like extreme, extreme challenge. So you definitely nervous system regulation and strength. So the poses in Kundalini, you hold them for a really long time and you're doing a lot of breath work. So it's going to be very specific for these things. All right, let's talk about hot yoga, sometimes called Bikram yoga, although I think Bikram has lost its shine due to scandals. So it is a cardio class. It's a cardio class. And so if you're looking to get your heart rate up, sweat a ton, you want to go to a Bikram hot yoga class. It's going to be great for balance. It's going to be great for community. You're going to get some nervous system regulation in there. So when we talk about these kind of cardio classes, it's going to be the same kind of bliss that you get from doing running, right? So when you finish running, you feel amazing. And that's the same kind of feeling you're going to get from these kind of cardio classes. All right, yin. People sometimes think restorative and yin are the same thing. They're so different. So yin class, you're going to hold poses for 3 minutes or more, and you're not going to be warmed up. So normally in a Hatha yoga class, you do a lot of like some kind of dynamic warm-ups before you get into holding any poses longer. Yin, you go in cold. You start getting into these very deep, like a pigeon pose immediately. There's no warm up. And when you don't warm up the muscle first, then you're going to be stretching the joint. the connective tissue. So I just want to be full disclosure. There's a lot of controversy about yin, and I'm not going to step in that puddle today. I'm just going to tell you there's a lot of controversy about what that is or what should it be. But just be aware, you're going to be holding poses for a very long time. And I'm going to just say, it's obviously community. Any kind of yoga class you're in there with other humans, it's going to be really lovely. Very much good for regulation of your nervous system. And this is a controversial part, is it range of motion. So is it really improving range of motion? The people from Yin say it is. So I'm just going to say this is what they have. I haven't done enough peer research on this to know if holding something without warming up the muscle first is going to actually help. So I'm not going to, you guys can put your thoughts in the comments. All right, let's move to restorative, which is completely different than Yin. So restorative is not going to be hanging in the joints in a very harsh manner. It's going to be a bunch of supported poses. So you can do a supported child where you're laying on a bolster or a nice twist or your feet are up the wall. So you're not going to get some huge amount of stretch. You're really just doing gentle, gentle, gentle. And there's usually some slight warm up in the beginning just to get your body kind of ready. And then afterwards, you'll go into these very long poses, which could be held up to like 20 minutes, but they're not going to feel very, very strenuous. Whereas yin, you are like in agony. I'm just speaking from my own experience doing yin. All right, so it's wonderful for nervous system regulation, great for community. All right, we're moving on to Nidra. Nidra is just a little bit of heaven. Personally, I love it. So I think, yeah, that's a little error. There's no range of motion improvement in Nidra. It's going to be wonderful for your nervous system and great for your focus because you do have to listen to the little speech, and it's going to be totally about getting into your body, feeling really grounded. All right, last one is Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is a singing yoga. It's chanting, kirtan. And so there's a call and response with a leader, and they're singing something, and then you're responding, and there's often dancing. So if you get some cardio in the dancing, that's optional. You can also just sit and listen and enjoy. So it's great for community. It's great for nervous system. Anytime your voices are coming together, even like oming or chanting together, it is just so, so good for us as humans. It's really wonderful. All right. And that is the end of my presentation. So what are your questions, Daga?
Wow, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's like yoga instant, and definitely if anybody is considering joining a yoga class and or maybe is a fan of Hatha or Ashtanga and is considering any other type, well,
Hmm.
definitely they can use the everything that you shared. And actually, maybe you can say a little bit more about like how do I know that this type of yoga is going to be good for me? Because the description is one thing, but then how do I make it personal and individual?
Okay. So I'm gonna bring in something that my teacher Ann Dyer told me recently, and that is that we as humans are attracted to things that are what we already are. Okay? We're attracted to things that we already are. And so if someone is sort of a lethargic, kind of low energy person, they will be attracted to restorative yoga. And they'll just be like, oh, this is so great. I just need to put my legs at the wall. But if you were to maybe, if that person was to go to like a doctor or something, they would probably say you should probably do some cardio or you should do some strength training, right? And they're going to be like, no, 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 I need restorative yoga, right? So I think there's a real challenge in trying to diagnose what type of yoga we really need. And like someone who has very high energy and just can't sit still and is running for 5 miles a day they're going to want to do more flow yoga. They're going to be like, I need to get in there. But really, if you think about the fitness puzzle, the health puzzle, they need to be doing restorative or Hatha to kind of like start slowing down, working on alignment, building the muscle memory and balance and things. So it's a real challenge for us because we want to do the thing that we already are when we actually need a complementary type of yoga to help complement all the rest. So if someone's not doing anything, probably a hatha is a nice way to start. Maybe add like a vinyasa flow once a week to do a little cardio. But it's a challenge, Daga, because we want to do the thing that we already are when we actually need the thing that we aren't.
Right. Well, yeah, it makes sense because we do like to stay in our comfort zone.
Mm,
And when we think about our comfort zone, even in yoga, like how our energy levels and how the way we are in the world, how that translates into yoga, that means that we're going to try this type of yoga that fits that, no, that we
hmm
feel comfortable. And sometimes stepping out of our comfort zone might mean that we need to do something less or we need to do it slower. So that makes absolutely
Yeah, I love
sense.
that you're talking about the comfort zone because it is, I mean, if you go to a yoga class and you're like, that was terrible, I think it might be a sign that it's something you need to play with more. Like this is not like this teacher was not a terrible teacher. Maybe this is what you need in life right now. So that can be a
Yes.
sign right there, just a measurement. If you go to a class and you hate it, go more.
Just ask yourself what it is that you hate about it, right? Because, yeah, putting up with discomfort, this is like a superpower. If we are able to put up with discomfort, then this is exactly how we are stretching our comfort zone and how we're growing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a couple of more questions if we have time. So,
Yes.
whether there are any limitations to do yoga and whether there are any requirements for
hmm
people. Do I, do I have to be special? Do I have to be fit? Do I have to know something? Do I have to know certain vocabulary? Or how do I need to prepare myself?
Okay. So first of all, pregnant people should really talk to their doctor first. So I took one class on pregnancy yoga in my training, and it was like scared me to death. So I think it's really important to first make sure with your health practitioner that you're doing the thing that's right for you because pregnancy can have all kinds of complications. And then go to a specific yoga that's trained for pregnancy. So let me just get that out of the way. Then if you have any other kind of injury, you should always tell your yoga teacher at the beginning. And I always ask my students right away, like, do you have an injury? What's going on with you? And then I specifically have modifications that I'm like, okay, Ken, make sure that you are, changing this because of your knee injury. Because I know what my students' injuries are and I'm always modifying for them. So tell your teacher what you have. And then, if if you've just sprained your ankle, like maybe do some bhakti yoga and some yoga nidra, right? There's always yoga that you can do, but just be smart and don't do something that's going to re-injure yourself. But the funny thing is that if you look at therapy, physical therapy specific, not regular therapy, they have all this movement that is supposed to heal the muscle, right? So they do all these things, and I often take yoga and wrap physical therapy moves so that my students who have like a rotator cuff injury can do therapy to heal. So you want to do some kind of movement once you're past a certain part of your injury. So I think yoga is critical for getting back into health. Okay, so I also teach chair yoga for people who can't come up and down from the floor for whatever, maybe hip replacement or knee replacement or other injury. And so there's always so many kinds of accessible yoga out there.
Mhm.
And I think if you just take some time based on whatever's going on with you, you can find some kind of yoga to do.
Mhm.
And so that's what I would say about that question. Okay, one other myth I really want to mention this. And this I hear it like once a week. People say, I am out of shape or I'm too stiff to do yoga. And I just think that is so hysterical. And I try not to laugh while they're telling me this because, first of all, people who are too bendy, like their joints are double jointed, that's actually extremely dangerous. And yoga teachers have to be so careful to make sure people are not like overextending their joints because that's how people get injured. So, first of all, extremely flexible people, those are the people that should be very, very careful doing yoga. If you're stiff, yoga is the perfect thing for you because you're starting to build flexibility and build range of motion in your body. So the whole like, oh, I can't even touch my toes. I can't do yoga. It's like, I'm not going to learn how to read because I don't know how to read yet, or I'm not going to go to the gym because I'm out of shape, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like you go to yoga to build your flexibility and your strength and range of motion. So that's a common myth that I hear all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, all right, so you answered my question about being fit. And
Anything else?
do just if people yoga, since yoga is not a Western practice, it comes from the Eastern culture, right? It comes from India.
Right.
Do people have to be spiritual? Like, does it mean that if I start practicing yoga, I there are certain beliefs that I need to believe in, and like how is that?
There's nothing you need to believe in. You can be a materialist, rationalist, secular person and do yoga. Yoga is a physical practice. There's nothing to believe in. You don't have to believe in Krishna or whatever. Um, Durga. I just learned about Durga the other day. Yeah, it's really not required. It's really a physical practice and it's completely available. You can be a devout Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, I don't know, a Mormon, whatever you want to be. I'm sorry, a Latter-day Saints person. You can totally have whatever other religions, ideologies, and come into yoga and just get so much benefit that you saw on that chart. That chart didn't have anything like enlightenment, get connected with God. It's not required, although, if you have any kind of interesting experiences, that's great, but that's not required.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That was fascinating. And if anybody wants to dive deeper, Beth has her channel and she shares, right? So you share
Yes.
your yoga practices. And we're going to share for people who are listening to us, we're going to share the slides in the show notes.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think we're
So
going to talk a
hi.
little bit more about yoga. I feel like I have more questions, but we don't have time
We
today.
will do another episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say check out, try yoga, Hatha is a nice middle yoga that's not too crazy and not too restorative. So like a Hatha yoga class is a great entry, but I would say try a lot of different yoga classes, try a lot of teachers and just figure out what your body needs and make sure you're getting your whole fitness health puzzle put together.
Yes. Make your yoga individual. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear from you, the audience, if you have thoughts or comments or corrections. And I would love to hear from you. This was my point of view on it after doing yoga for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. So I would love to hear your thoughts, if there's something we missed, and also other topics that you want us to dig into in the future. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.